No. Thank you for watching. The next 8 minutes of this video will be stock footage of a dancing chimpanzee, just so I can roll mid-roll ads. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I kid. But no, seriously, drone warfare is not a coward sort of way of fighting. It's rare for me to address YouTube comments, but since I've had a couple of videos go semi-viral lately, I really wanted to kind of address a reoccurring theme I see in a lot of the comments, which is talking about how fighting with drones is fighting a coward's war. And to those of you who say that, I want you to stop and think about that for a second. Do you realize what war and combat is? When you boil it down to its most base form, it is usually one side versus one side trying to kill each other without losing more of their guys. It's called attrition. You want them to run out of people and material and armor and weapons and everything before you run out of people and armor and material and weapons. You're not going to win a war if you're deciding, well, we can't fight with the newest, greatest, and best technology. We need to hamper ourselves because that's what honor recommends. To quote Mass Effect, stand amongst the ashes of 1 trillion dead souls and ask them if honor matters. It's just the way technology goes in the world. One side gets a leg up on technology and usually takes out the other side. It's just the way of the world. When you start saying that, oh, only cowards use drones to fight this battle, you sound like the people that would be upset that machine guns were a thing, or artillery was a thing, or jets were a thing. Stop and think about that for a second. If using drones in combat is cowardly, is sitting behind enemy lines and launching artillery cowardly, is dropping bombs from a jet cowardly, is using a sniper rifle cowardly, is using a tank cowardly, is using a rifle that's just slightly better than your enemy cowardly. You can walk that all the way back through history. I mean, think back to the caveman days. Say, let's do this. Let's do this thought exercise. You have Caveman A, Grog, and you have Caveman B, Grok. Sorry, Elon. Grog and Grok. They get angry at each other and they fight each other with their fists. They are perfectly evenly matched. What if Grog has more muscles than Grok? Does that make him cowardly? What if Grok, realizing that Grog has more muscles, picks up a rock and hits Grog over the head? Grog is now dead. And his family goes, you used a rock. That's cowardly. Well, they start thinking, Grok had a rock. Grok has a rock. We need something that's a little bit bigger, a little bit better than Grok. They pick up a club. Does that make the club a coward's weapon? So what happens if Grok's tribe goes, well, they have these clubs. They're way stronger. We got to get something with a little more range. And they develop the spear. Is the spear a coward's weapon? Because you can hit him from further away than you can with a club, and you can hit him from further away with a club than you can a rock. Well, now what happens when Caveman Side A figures out, hey, we can take these spears, make them smaller, and use some twine and shoot them. You have bow and arrows. Are bow and arrows cowardly? It goes all the way down the road. So you have bows that get outclassed by crossbows. Crossbows get outclassed by guns. Guns get outclassed by machine guns. Machine guns get outclassed by artillery in some ways, and it just kind of goes forward. It gets to the point where you start thinking of, in 100 years from now, you're going to have people saying, I remember when we fought wars with drones, and now we're fighting them with, I don't know, our mind. We have psychers at this point, and we've devolved into the Warhammer 40k future we always knew was coming. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. In 100 years from now, are you going to be saying that plasma weaponry is cowardly? Are you going to be saying that rail guns are cowardly? Are you going to be saying that orbital strikes, rods from God, are they cowardly because you can't hit them because they're up in space? There's nothing cowardly about it. If you want combat to be where people put on shiny uniforms and they go and they march in formation and they line up and they fight each other with the exact same weapons, you know what you get? You get something like the American Civil War. Think back to the American War of Independence. You had the Brits, who had a certain way of dealing with warfare. You march in formation, everyone has the same gun, and it is lines down and then lines forward, and it is very just regimented. And they were beaten by a bunch of duck hunters who hid behind the trees. Were those duck hunters cowards for hiding behind the trees and taking pot shots? You can sit there and call them cowards all day long, but who won that war? War is all about outthinking, outmaneuvering, and outsupplying your opponent. And that's just what drones are doing right now. War is not a thing where you have everyone being the exact same and going against each other. One team is always going to try and come up with something that's better than the other team because they're trying to win the war. Because it's not a game, it's not a video game, it's not a sports game, it's life or death. You can call the people in the trenches cowards all you want, but you're not the one in the trenches. If I was in those trenches and I had the option of standing up and screaming for honor and charging them, you know how that would end up? Me face down in a field, gasping on my shattered lungs. If I can sit in that trench and send a tiny flying robot out to do the job for me, go ahead and call me a coward. I don't care. I'm defending my homeland. I'm fighting for what I believe in. In the words of General George Patton, no one wins a war by dying for their country. You win a war by making someone else die for theirs. No one in a war is trying to die for honor. They're trying to survive. They're trying to fight for whatever their cause is, and they're trying to make the other person die instead of them. That's where these drones come in. They're basically guided artillery, which is just something that's been in war for however many hundreds of years. It's just the next branch of artillery. So no, using drones in combat is not cowardice. It's just the way wars are fought. War is about trying to take out as much of the enemy as you can while losing as little of your guys as possible. And with drone warfare, that's really kind of tipped the scales. So no, I don't think drone warfare is cowardly, and for everyone who leaves those comments, there's a reason I don't reply to you. A, because I've got about 400 of them, and B, because I feel like you fundamentally misunderstand what the point of combat is, as well as how absolutely fucking terrifying war really is. It's not Call of Duty, it's not Battlefront, it's not even DayZ. It is life and death, and you are trying to keep yourself alive and make the other poor son of a bitch die. And drones are just the best way of doing that right now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.